Hey, everybody, welcome again to Strong Witness. You know, we do it every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. We are here sharing stories. We are here connecting and communicating and just building a greater community with the power of storytelling. I got my Strong Witness shirt on. That's because that's what I wear. It's a part of my it's a part of my uniform on Tuesdays, and I'm just loving this space. I had some conversations with people. I want to say on Friday about the power of storytelling, about the power of sharing our voice and using our voice to express how we feel, and the idea that we can connect with other people and let them know more about us, let them know who we are, where we come from, when it all comes down to stories. And it's amazing. I asked you guys to think about the last couple of times. I asked you to think about, okay, how many stories did you hear today? What stories did you share? What stories did you hear that really made you think? And I was having a conversation with somebody earlier on this topic. And I was like, man, I said, what are your thoughts? And the person said, man, I remember, and just shock. And I was thinking, that's exactly a feeling that I have. And that's the power of story. Like sometimes you need to hear somebody else talk about it. And it reminds you and brings things out that you forgot were there, that were maybe dormant or that you couldn't put words to. So today's topic for our story session, because this is what it is, it's storytelling sessions. And I remember I call it that because just kind of like a rap session or a music session, and you can always jump in and share if you have something to share on the topic, right? So our topic tonight, our story session, is never be the same. So I have a very special guest that's going to come up, and she is going to tell her story. Her name is Siobhan Cormick. I often want to call her McCormick in my head. I've never said that out loud to right now, but her name is Siobhan Siobhan Cormick. And she's going to tell us, before she gets started with her story, tell a little bit about herself. But Siobhan was born and raised in New Orleans. If you didn't know before, you're going to hear it in her voice, right? So, but she's born and raised in New Orleans, and she's going to share the story about Hurricane Katrina and how it affected her and her family. And I want you all to think about that time and that season of life. If you weren't in New Orleans at the time, I want you to think about where you were when that happened. Were you at home watching TV and watching it on the news? Uh, did you have conversations about it? And what were your thoughts? And I want you to connect that with Siobhan being in this space and graciously sharing her story with us. Again, it's the storytelling, right? So we can reflect and remember. This is one of those stories where we remember because it was a public display. It was on display for us to see, right? And so we can think about where we were, what happened. But Siobhan's going to tell us firsthand. So I'm going to bring Siobhan up. Bam. That's
Hey.
Siobhan. I guess you are ready. That's Siobhan. Siobhan, what's up? Siobhan, the realtor, that is.
Yes.
So, Siobhan, tell the people who you are, what you do, and introduce yourself.
All right. So my name is Siobhan Cormick. I am currently a real estate agent slash PRN social worker. I know Latoya doesn't like that. With LCS. Um, but I am also a great sister to my siblings and an aunt to my nephew. And I am always a respectful daughter to my parents, right?
Mhm.
So love my family dearly. They are definitely the reason why I can stand boldly and do things, and the reason why I do what I do more
Mhm.
than anything. Love those people. Um, so I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is one of the best places I think to grow up because of the culture, the food, the music, but also the sense of community. Um, and so my parents made sure I didn't know that we were middle class or lower middle class until I grew up, right? I didn't know that you weren't supposed to have the stove on for heat, stuff like that. Um, didn't know that. But anyway, my parents made sure they gave us every opportunity they could. And I was about 20 years old in 2005. Yes, I was 20. So living my best life. So I thought, finally got my first car. All three of my two of my closest friends, we all had cars by then. So living our best life. We all were in college. Again, I was the oldest, so my brother was like 3 at the time. One of my sisters was 14, the other one was 10. And just living a regular life, working jobs. I had just started my own business that summer. So everything was looking up. Hurricane season is typically June through November. So it was nothing for you to hear on the news, or tropical storm, something is coming. Um, you know, you may have to evacuate, you may not. And I think the year before Katrina, if I'm not mistaken, it was either a year before or 2 years before, my family did wind up evacuating to Texas and nothing happened. And so we called it evacuation because we got to come to Texas. I do have a family member that was here at the time, but he's still here. Got to come to Texas, went to the stockyard, went to Joe's Crab Shack, just was chilling, and then came back home. So around the time we were finding out about Katrina, I remember that Friday, it was just a little buzz, nothing about leaving, anything like that. So I went about my Friday, went to work, all that good stuff. Saturday, that's when my dad started to get a little worried. But we still did our normal routine when the hurricane was coming, which was you go buy them good hurricane snacks. I used to eat Vienna sausages with crackers during the hurricane season. You get all the Kool-Aid Jammers, Capri Suns, anything non-perishable that you could survive on. Get water, fill up some trash cans with water just in case you have some sewage problems, board up the house, and kind of get ready to hunker down or whatever. But again, that Saturday, I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do. Went to church because I was supposed to sing a solo in the choir, and practice a song because the next day was going to be Men's and Women's Day. But as the day progressed, my dad really started watching the news and was like, as for me and my house, we probably going to leave. But we still brought snacks. We still did everything to stay. But then Sunday morning came and he was like, look, I was in the military. I've seen the city plans. This one not sitting right with me. And I think we're going to be out. So I want to park a pin there to say there are so many people that didn't have a choice, that could not leave. So typically evacuation wasn't really a mandatory. It was kind of a choice because there's a lot of things that involved in a mandatory evacuation. But I will say that a lot of people just couldn't leave. So it wasn't that they just chose out of stubbornness to stay. That wasn't it. A lot of people had to leave. Couldn't leave because they may not have had transportation, and evacuating is not free. So I don't know if people thought we got vouchers to leave, but imagine packing your family in a vehicle, not really knowing where you're going and then how you're going to get there and where you're going to stay. So evacuating costs probably the same or if not more than going on a nice Disney vacation, only there's no fun when you get where you're going. So a lot of people just didn't have the resources to leave. New Orleans has I don't live there now, but when I was there, we had a great transportation system. I can get from uptown to the east. I can get across the river wherever I needed to be on RETA, aka the RTA, that's our regional transit authority. So anyway, I just wanted to park up in there because there were people who would say stuff like, why didn't they leave? Because they didn't have the resources, or we have been through this before. It's hurricane season, right? So we leave. I actually parked my car in Metairie because some of us had cars, but wasn't gonna get us too far. So I parked my car in Metairie so it wouldn't flood. Then we dropped my mom's car. My parents had 2 cars. Each of them had a car. We dropped my mom's car off to my grandmother's house because they needed an extra car to get out. So dropped that car up there, and a few of us caravan to Texas. It took us between 24 and 26 hours to get to Texas at that point because we left Sunday afternoon. So it was a long ride. It takes you about 7 to 8 hours to get to Fort Worth from New Orleans, and it took us between 24 and 26. But that entire time, even though this was different than the last time, we still hopeful in that we'll be home by Friday. So even when I'm packing, my mom says, hey, get your birth certificate, your social security card and all that good stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that, which I did. But I'm bringing my new, back then I had my new gaucho pants. I brought some new Steve Madden pumps, you know what I'm saying? Pointed toe, just in case we go somewhere, because again, I'm thinking this evacuation, I'll probably be home by Friday. Um, and So we get to Texas and you finally kind of get settled. And I'm looking for family members now because the cell phones are not working. So every time you would dial a number, you would just get a beeping sound, like the towers are down or something. So if somebody wasn't home, then you call it on a cell phone, you couldn't reach them. And then you hear, oh, the hurricane hit, we should be good. And then you hear that the levees break. So now you have left home, but you see your city on TV and you see people waiting in the water. You got family members you still hadn't heard from yet. And you're just helpless and shocked. That's all. I just remember sitting in front of the TV like, dang, that's the convention center. That's not far from my house. Or dang, look at the roof of the dome. Or, just constantly kind of glued to the TV in between trying to piece my life together, because now it looks like I'm not going to be home by Friday. And I don't know, quite frankly, when I'm going to be home. So you're trying to kind of keep it together enough to get the services you need. I remember being in food stamp lines for hours at a time. Probably, I think we did a whole shift at a convention center one time, just getting an ID card and trying to get resources. Looking for my cousin wound up having to go be rescued from a roof. I think my best friend, mom and grandmother had to do the same thing, or even looking for my friend. So she wound up leaving with her boyfriend at the time. Another friend of mine came to my house before she left because she didn't have gas money. We gave her gas money to roll out. So just looking for family and friends. I have two fathers. So my dad stayed, one of my biological father stayed in New Orleans. And he went to an area town called Mid City because he thinking, hey, I could probably just go sit in a 2-story house. Well, that area floods, so he has to wade in the water back to his home. So you dealing with all this stuff at one time, watching it on TV, still trying to piece your life together, trying to figure out what life is going to be at this point, because you just don't know. And so there was a small part of me that was, it was shock, it was some hopelessness, and then it was also, I can't complain because I didn't have the experience of wading in the water like my people did, right? So I'm safe, I'm sound, and I'm in a hotel right now, getting able to take a good shower. I'm getting food from different organizations to make sure that we can eat. And so there was a little bit of guilt that I never really talk about Katrina, because at the time I felt like I didn't have a leg to stand on to talk about the trauma, because I wasn't in a shelter. I was in a hotel and we made it out. But I want to tell people that trauma is not something you compete about, right? So trauma is one of those things that it happened to you. You have your experience with it. I have mine. Even though you may have experienced it differently, doesn't negate what I felt. So at the time, I didn't know what to do with that. So I remember from probably 2006, probably till I graduated college in 2007, just crying damn near every day. Like, just after I would go to school, I was working a job at Harris Hospital in the gift shop. I was working a work study job, trying to make ends meet. FEMA was paying the rent for a little bit. And I probably was making less than $600 a month and just trying to piece life together. I really didn't fit in here in Texas because every time I talk to somebody, they say baby. And I was angry because I'm like, I am not a living, walking museum for you people. So I used to hate that. Now I'm okay with it because I made peace with that. My dialect is fabulous. And there are so many people that want to talk like me and they never will be able to experience what we experience. Okay. But at the time I was pissed. I was like, if somebody asked me to say baby one more time, I'm a karate chop you in the throat because I'm trying to figure my life out. Right. So just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm a 20-year-old woman trying to figure out what I'm going to do, who I'm going to be, what my life looks like. And then you also have those thoughts of when you finally kind of get settled, what would my life, what could have been, So I did have a period in my life where I was like, man, I probably could have been married by now if I was in New Orleans, or I would have children, or I would have this, I would have that. And so we don't have a crystal ball to look back into to see what your life could have been. So all I was forced to do was move forward. I was forced to move forward with my life, make sure that I was there for my unit that I have. So in New Orleans, my family is very tribal, I would say, very, I thrive in community. So my cousins grew up next door to me. We were raised as siblings until I got my own siblings. I had an uncle that lived across the street from me. So I went from depending on family and us being a community in a unit to not knowing who my neighbors were, having to live in an apartment. I never even knew what apartment living was until I moved to Texas. Not really feeling like I was a part of anything. So I wanted to go back home, but there wasn't the resources to go home. And then I wanted to stay here because I started to make a career for myself. So I always kind of had a place where I felt just like an outsider for a very, very long time. I would say probably until about 2015, 2016, I still didn't know if I wanted to live in Texas. But I think my faith has definitely grown since that situation. I've experienced a bunch of other things since Katrina. And what has helped me is now in life, I face unknown situations with a known God, right? So, like when COVID hit, I was like, Lord, what this is going to mean? I can't see my people. I can't do whatever. And I had to say, you know what? It is what it is. So Katrina changed my life in that I woke up one day and couldn't go back home. I woke up one day, didn't know where some of my family members were. I woke up one day and I was in a foreign land, a place that I never wanted to really be. You know, it's different when you relocate because you want to. Like you woke up and said, I want to move to Texas and start a new life. But when you're forced into it, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Um, so I don't know what else Latoya wants me to say. So Latoya, you can jump in at any time.
No, that's real good. And I got some questions. I don't know. I mean, hopefully other people have some questions too. When you're telling the story, I don't, man, I was like, I thought I was gonna get emotional and because it was rough. And you can just tell by how you're telling it, it was rough. And I want everybody to think about, remember I said this in the beginning, I don't know if you may not have been on here yet. I want you to think about now Hurricane Katrina, and what was the exact date again? It was in,
I believe it's the 28th. I sometimes I erase the dates out of my head. So I think Friday was the 26th, 27th, 28th. Yeah. It's just Sunday was the 28th. I think September. It touched down the night of the 28th, but the issue was when the levees broke.
Okay, it was on Tuesday. I do remember. I feel like I do remember.
Monday. I think Monday the levees probably broke. Okay. Sunday or Monday, something like that.
Okay, but I want you all to think about where you were. Okay, so Siobhan's talking about I was there up until that Saturday at choir rehearsal. But then I want you all to think about too, even as we're talking, if you have questions, make sure you put them up here for Siobhan. She's gonna talk some more. But I want you also think about where you were. I remember watching. And I want to say it was, no, that wasn't the Tuesday. I'm thinking of another tragedy. I don't want to bring that one up. But I remember watching on TV and being in shock. Mm-hmm. Like the things that you experienced firsthand and having a connection. I remember being in shock thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like from the people walking or sitting on the bridge, or we all remember the images of being on top of the houses and hoping that somebody would come by.
Right. Definitely made me angry. I forgot about that part. So you went through all the, I know clinicians don't really identify with the stages of grief anymore that much, but I was angry because I was trying to figure out how I was in this country and this was happening. I'm trying to figure out how, I think there was a tsunami or something, maybe a year or two before that, or something like that. And you can get to a tsunami in a matter of, a day or two, but you can't get up the street to New Orleans. Like you can't do that. So I remember being very angry at the depiction of my people because I know that people weren't you know, you in survival mode. Your city literally is underwater. Like you literally like a bowl of cereal. The humans are the Cheerios on the top. And you have to, survive. And so the depiction of people doing what they had to do to survive and being criminalized for it, that definitely angered me a lot. And then that storyline being then put on me whenever you see somebody from New Orleans and you saying, "Oh, them people from New Orleans coming, they must be ghetto," stuff like that. It that bothered me a lot. You come back, Latoya.
Okay, come on. Thank you for allowing me to come back in. But all that stuff, and I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of times too, as you know, because you're a therapist, you're a great therapist. Just wanted to add that too. She put Siobhan, the realtor / therapist. But a lot of times, as you know, like we got to own those feelings and that stuff for us to heal and get through it. But I was angry watching from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to get people to see, right? Because it's this storytelling, this community, this emotional connection. I'm angry watching from the comfort of my home in New Jersey at the time. So I can only imagine, or I can't fully imagine knowing I have loved ones there.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are literally, I remember thinking that too, like these people are out there. Where's the help? From the water, right? From the convention center, from sitting on the bridge, from people carrying their loved ones.
Not telling them when it was going. One of my uncles decided not to leave. And I think I should have called my cousin, but I want to say he was somewhere in Michigan, like just some random place. He got on the bus and it took him and his old lady to some random place. Like you didn't have a choice. It was just you.
We're placing you here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So when the bus did come to get you out, you didn't have you didn't know where you were going.
But
your uncle.
My uncle didn't know where he was. He didn't know where he was going till after he got on the bus.
So New Orleans from Michigan is two.
It was somewhere far in the land
far north. Like yeah. All right. So let's back up some. So you said you had a business, right? Mm-hmm. What business did you have? I never heard you say.
So, when I was 20, I worked as a clerical assistant. So I was going to Tulane University at night, worked as a clerical assistant during the day, and I had started a courier service. So back then, this was predating like heavy email and encryptions and stuff. My company processed medical bills or something. I still don't really know what the company did, but what I did know was the courier service charged too much money, and I overheard the manager saying we got to find another service. So I heard him told my daddy, that's what I want to do. I want to start a courier business, because they charged per stop. So say I'm in your building right now, Latoya, and I stop at door 102 and door 104. That's $50 a door, because I'm going to two different companies. So I overheard the lady talking. On my day off, my daddy took me to Baton Rouge to get an LLC, and I started a company. So my company was like a week old when Katrina hit. So I made like $1,000 that week, and they gave it to me after the fact. But no, it was probably about 2 or 3 weeks old, I think. But I had started a business. Like I was really living the life at 20. I thought I was, at least.
Yeah. No, that was good money now and at 20.
Right.
But especially at 20. But you said a lot of powerful things. And one of them, and again, if you have questions for Siobhan, make sure you put them in the comments. Or if you have a story to tell, if you're from New Orleans and you're like, listen, I got a story on it too, you just let me know and I'll send you the link and I'll put you up here. But I like you told at one point, like, listen, we've been down this road before. They always tell us to evacuate, we're not gonna go, but it was your dad that said no, and thank God. Right. For using your father to say we getting out of here. But something you said that was pretty powerful. Evacuating is the equivalent financially of taking your family on a Disney trip.
Yeah.
Because everybody didn't have the means to get up and go. Because if all your family's in New Orleans, where you gonna go? And then two, if I gotta move my family, we don't have hotel money. Like we ain't got the money for gas
money. Or if you had a car, like my car, like if I didn't have my parents, right? I had a 1988 gold Toyota Camry with power seat belts and the radio that you take out so nobody don't break your window. Where that 1988 was going, it wasn't getting me out of. it wasn't getting me too far. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, evacuating is expensive, and you have to also remember that New Orleans is a tourist destination. So my people wasn't making that much money anyway. A lot of them were not. My dad, was still working for the same hotel. Um, I have two dads, so I know people get confused. But my
I'm
daddy
following
that
you.
stayed
Yeah.
had been working for the same hotel since 1984. So like, we just don't have bundles just sitting around and saying, "Oh, it's time to evacuate." We got thousands sitting here.
Right, right. And so a lot of times that when the ones who stay behind, either they chose or they financially they weren't able to go. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what you're talking about when you say explain some more. Like I was so angry because listen, it's like you're painting this picture like these people were, you know,
Yeah.
completely ignorant to the fact or couldn't care less about their own lives when that wasn't the case.
Right.
Like you didn't give us the resource, we didn't know.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And then you talked about a 24-hour car ride. Now it's one thing to drive 24 hours and make it on the other side of the country, but you went from one place to the other.
Right. Yeah.
And what was going on in that car ride, even with your family? Because you said
Um.
you bought the pointy toe shoes and some
Right.
gauchos. You was gonna come right back. You was gonna
Oh,
eat some
wait.
crab.
Let me backtrack. So I did bring my pointed toe shoes. I got my Steve Madden. Let me make sure because I had finally bought name brand, baby. So I had my Steve Madden shoes, my gaucho pants, my tank top. But my mom always said you better have a suit in that suitcase. So I did have like black and white in case I had to do communion or a job interview, either one. Um, I did
You
have
was
that.
ready.
I was ready for whatever. We was going to church or we was going to club. I was ready for anything in between during evacuation because that's what I thought I was going to do. But that car ride was just really. Sometimes we rode in silence because you just knew there was a heaviness that you knew this was different because so many people was leaving at the same time. And the odd thing was so I had two uncles. One actually lived across the street. That's the one who stayed in New Orleans the whole time. The other one whom we all lived together. So like I said, my family is a community. It wasn't enough for 10 people to be in the house at the same time. One of my uncles stayed along with my cousin. They wound up leaving 3-4 hours after us and catching up with us.
Oh wow.
On the interstate. That's how packed it. Like you could literally get out of your car, say you had to pee. You get out your car at McDonald's, you use the bathroom, order a Big Mac, and still get in the car because the car hadn't moved.
Yeah.
That's how bad the traffic was. So I would say in the car, we tried to sing or talk about stuff. Or I remember that was the first time I heard "Shake Your Laffy Taffy." I was like, "What the hell is a laffy taffy?" You just remember those little things. But you just knew that this time was different. You just didn't know how bad it would be.
Right, right, right. Do you find that and I'm glad you made this statement too because it's powerful. Trauma is not something you compete about.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which is exactly what it is. It's not something like I suffered worse than you did, or you don't know what pain is. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Right.
And I appreciate you even sharing with us the ways that you were triggered throughout the years, but you found healing along the way. Um, Also, speak with us. I imagine you calling back. Like, how'd you catch up with your father? Because you said your father stayed. Like, and the phone lines were out. Right. So that's a scary part too. You're calling to get in touch with somebody. The house line is out because then I think house lines were still jumping.
Yeah.
And then the cell phone, you couldn't get through. Like, how'd you even reach out to even find your dad to see if he was okay?
I think he called me because I have a stepbrother that was in Alabama at the time. I think he called me when he finally got there. So my dad had to walk back home to get to his car, and his car was still good. And then him and my other little brother and his wife at the time made it to Alabama to my stepbrother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is he like? If he were to tell the story, like, does he have any other stories too that are additional? Like even having to walk through the water, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is?
I remember him telling me something like he had my little brother in a basket, walking him back because from Mid City to Uptown where he lived is a little trek. So walking in a basket and just seeing debris and just stuff while you walking, dead animals, just whatever while you are walking. So and again, I don't think we ever really we talked about it during that time, but I don't think we ever really rehash that part of our lives. We
Okay.
probably should talk and just get everybody's perspective, but it is still so painful that sometimes, I'd be like, yeah, I came here, in '05, a little event happened, and I brush over it. I know I do that in conversation a lot. So as far as my family goes, we never really sit and just our lives are pre-Katrina, like girl before Katrina, I had whatever, and after. But we don't really speak of her, if that makes sense.
Do you get a sense that that most people from New Orleans who experience that, you get a sense that that's how it is? Like it's just something you don't
I don't want to speak for
do much
everybody.
about?
I would say for my family, we do girl pre Katrina. Like if I'm having a conversation with my best friend, we would even say, "No, girl, that was pre Katrina because remember we was living here." And they say, "Oh yeah," and then we glaze over that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's my two lives. I have the pre Katrina life and the one now.
Yeah. And I know, you know what, like, too, I think you may have mentioned, well, you had to because we're talking about it now. You mentioned it before that to me that you came here for that, but I know it's something I never asked you about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think we ever fully talked about it until this week because I was sensitive to the fact too, like that's heavy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to even, there's certain things you just don't walk up to somebody and be like, yeah, tell me this. Like
Right.
off the rip, like you just don't do it.
Yeah.
And if there was an open door, maybe I would have, but that was something that I was always mindful about, that I'm not gonna pick
Yeah.
and pry on that. And if you wanted to share something, then you would respectfully. But I
Yeah.
understand too. I mean, I think your accent's dope. It makes, you got a strong accent. But I like what you said a second ago. Now I know, like, oh my good, like I could be more sensitive. I know it doesn't bother you now, but that would
Yeah.
have made me mad too. Like I'm not here, like this is not the circus. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I don't even want to be here, folks. It's not the circus, so you can't come to me and ask me to say and speak and do.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a whole like, say, baby, do this. You know how to cook gumbo? You do this. Like, what do I look like? And so I think that is part of the reason why. Because I went to school. We all joke about this. Is I went to the University of Texas at Arlington up the street, and I have no friends from college.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't joined nothing. I ain't really talked to nobody. I wasn't mean. The only person that I have a connection to two people that I just reached out to last Friday just because I was like, damn, I really don't have friends from college. I went
Okay.
there. I
Mm-hmm.
finished. I got 2 degrees from there. Couldn't
Were
tell
you
you nothing. I couldn't tell you the school colors,
really?
but I could not. But
But
I
you
knew
weren't
what to
trying to
look
make friends,
for.
is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, it wasn't that I wasn't trying. I was just seen as so different, or
Mm-hmm.
it was just a lot going on to where my focus was, let me go ahead and get out and get this money. So if something happened, I'm straight.
Okay.
I some people's response to trauma is business mode. And so that is one of the things about me that I noticed. Like if somebody died tomorrow, I'm gonna shed a tear, but then I'm gonna go, what funeral home doing the funeral, what time you won't have it, how you won't do it. Because I'm like, I can't control that this happened. I can't control the debt. Let me focus on what I can control temporarily, and then I grieve or do whatever I need to do. So I would say for years, I hurry up and, got both my degrees, bought me a house, did all of this stuff just to get it out the way. So if something happened, I felt like I'd be okay.
Yeah. So like a trauma response. You're
Yeah.
saying like when heavy things hit,
Mm-hmm.
your response is to lock in and be business oriented and get the job done. Because at that time in the city, when there was no time for play. Like
Right.
when your dad said we out,
Yeah.
listen, you didn't pack appropriate. We know that you packed the suit and some Steve Madden and some gaucho pants. But for
Right.
the most part, but you did pack because you thought you was coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
But your thing is to lock in and listen, I'm focused, I'm getting something done.
Right.
So even then from that heavy trauma, anything heavy hits, you're locking in.
Yeah, I'm locking in, do what I need to do. And then after, when that's done, then I breathe and cry or feel what I need to feel. And I'll share this. Remember when my friend died back in April, I was boom, boom, boom. And then I called you one day. I can't see my patients today. I'm not in a place to talk to them. But
Yeah.
it took me weeks to get there. But I acknowledge it when it's time to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like you get in work mode and then you finally excel. So when it comes to this with Katrina and this happened, when did you finally get in that place where you finally allowed yourself to exhale?
I would say, man, I want to say, I would say I entered therapy in 2011 for the first time because I just graduated with my master's degree, and a family member called me and told me they couldn't come. I can't remember who. Yeah, I remember, but I ain't gonna put that out there. I do remember. I was at work. They said they couldn't come, and all of a sudden I just started crying, and I cried at work, and I couldn't stop. And my supervisor who is also my friend, was like, something been off. I don't know what's going on with you, but something ain't right. And I'm like, I'm straight. I'm gonna stay here because y'all not using my vacation time. You know, I use vacation time for vacation. You know me, I'm a little flip at the mouth. And so I don't know how the topic of therapy. I still don't know how I got to the therapist to this day. I don't know how I got to her. But we talked, and I found out that I was still grieving. And so I was like, girl, I'm not grieving. Ain't nobody died. But she was like, yeah, you lost your whole community. You lost all your neighbors. You lost your community. You lost the life that you was building. Like somebody came and just stepped on it. You know, so I think I finally breathed when I realized what happened to me. Like, because again, like I said, I kind of suppressed it because I wasn't on TV. I didn't wade in the water. Like nobody in my family died as a clear result of Katrina. You know, I had a family member, my great grandmother died a couple of months afterwards, you know, but I didn't have any damage, I felt like, as a result of Katrina, but I did not know that my mental health was affected because of it.
Yeah. And that's a long time. So 2005 to 2011 to finally have it literally break. And that's another good point I want to make sure that, because you touched on that too, just this idea of grieving doesn't always mean of somebody passing and no longer here. You can grieve a loss, period. So the loss of your community, the loss, and I love that therapist said it to you, of the life you were building. Like you had plans, you had this business, you was making money that one week, you was making some bank, you was singing in the choir, because Siobhan can't sing. I just want to add that part too. Whatever. You were singing in the choir, and you had you got a car, right? You were on this 20-year-old Siobhan was on the come up.
Right.
And then all of a sudden things were snatched from you. You had your immediate, but you said you was in a house where, man, it wasn't none for 10 people to be there at a time. And so still family wasn't around. And that's something to grieve. And I want everybody to be able to understand that you can grieve the life that you knew, or the hope, that the dreams that you had that you can't see coming to fruition at the time.
Yeah. And I learned that I can grieve and also, you know how we say, I'm trying to say be grieved and be grateful at the same time. Because somebody, you know, I would stop myself from grieving or having a feeling because you would taught somebody got it worse than you. Oh, that's Mallory. She right. That's why I loaned the $20 to get out of Katrina.
I don't know why I'm waving to her like Mallory's on the screen. Hey, Mallory. Hey, Mallory, you want to come up here? You want to say something? I'll send you the link. Hey, Mallory.
You can be grateful and also have and be grieving at the same time. You taught that somebody, you be like, well, somebody always got it worse than you, but that don't mean I still don't hurt. So I think being able to have all those emotions at the same time, to be able to grieve the life that I have, but also be grateful that, like, I'm a first generation college student. Like, I did that shit. Oh, I forgot. My bad. But like
it's out there.
I did like be okay with celebrating the things that you've done. And I wasn't okay with it for a long time because I had family members that still hadn't, achieved what they wanted to achieve. So it almost felt like, you went to Texas and now you somebody. Well, no, I'm still me. I'm same old me, but I am grateful for the life that I had, the foundation that New Orleans laid for me. I'm grateful for the foundation. I think that's where my hustle comes from. I think that's where my community, my desire to build a community. So now I have a community here. Hence why I have a 3-day birthday weekend, because I got to catch all my communities.
You do have a long birthday
got to catch the first folk, the people that, all of them. So that's why I have 3-day weekend. But before that, I just was like, I don't know if I want to be here. Not in a suicidal way, just a matter of, do I want to go home or not? So, yeah.
Right. And so again, it's like that, another way to put it is like survivor's guilt, but like this remorse, because a part of you was trying to wrestle with listen, I didn't ask to come here, but I'm doing well,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the ones who aren't. So it's like this weight you were carrying of having these benefits, um, what seemed like benefits
Right.
given to you. Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you know anybody else, like close friends that came, and were they feeling the same thing, or?
So my two good friends, Mallory's one of them, and Giovanni, they both live in Houston.
Mhm.
And we all been friends since we were in sixth grade. So to be
Oh,
apart
oh, Mallory.
is still a bit
Sweet.
much, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I have people that I've met along the way that also evacuated, like one of my homeboys I used to work with, one of my line sisters. So I have people that I've met along the way who came here because of Katrina, and our thought processes are very similar
Okay.
about where we are in life. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And whatever happened, like, you said your uncle stayed across the street, but he left 3 hours after. Whatever happened to the homes that were there? Were they okay, or did they have to be?
so my neighborhood actually was in the 80% of the city flooded. My neighborhood was the 20% that did not.
Wow. Praise God.
Right. So the house had damage, but it wasn't flooded out.
Okay.
Yeah. My church, I think the most devastating part for me was seeing my church. I wish I should have got the picture out. I don't know if I got it or my mama got it. But my church literally was just the sign. That was the only thing that was there. It was split in half. You could see straight through it because it was in the ninth ward. I mean, that just devastating. Or my grandmother's house that lived off of Frenchman, her house was fully. She had to get a house fully remodeled. My uncle. So I had family members. One of my uncles lost his complete house. It's a lot right now. So I mean, those things did happen, but the family house, because we all pretty much congregated at the family house, that house still stands.
Hmm. What? Hold on 1 second. See here. Yes, it says I hate it. I hated it here in Houston when I first came. My response to everything was, "I'm going back to New Orleans."
That's what it
That's,
was.
that's your homegirl, her and Mallory. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Javon,
Giovanni.
Javon. Hey, Giovanni. Okay. And what do you want people to know, even about the people of New Orleans? 'Cause I know a lot has happened since then with the city.
Mhm.
I think then the Saints won the Super Bowl like right at that same year.
2009. It was
I thought it
2009.
was that year. No.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Okay.
It probably felt like that, but it was 2009.
Okay. But you guys, everybody that I've known from New Orleans, first of all, Louisiana in general, but New Orleans, very proud, very like this close knit, it seems like a
Mhm.
big family. What do you want people to know about that time of people in New Orleans, and like anything lasting to leave with, like, or when you're watching tragedy on TV and everybody has a hot take,
Mhm.
about what everybody should be doing or how it should be flowing?
I would say you shouldn't should on yourself because you don't know what people are going through. Um, like I will watch it and sometimes I have to turn it off, um, because it is devastating to see those things on TV. Um, I would just say that she said who that New Orleans people are very proud because I mean we are just different. We are we are very community oriented. Like I knew all my neighbors. We love if we like you, we got you. But if I don't fool with you, I don't fool with you. Um, we will feed you. We will welcome you into our homes. We will love on you. We like bounce music and jazz and gospel all at the same time. All three of those could be playing in my car on the same Sunday morning. So I don't know what's on my eye, y'all, but I
It's
promise.
okay. We don't even see anything. You good. You
Um,
good.
so I don't know what I want to leave with the people outside of don't let that one experience that was tragic for me. I thought my life was ruined because I didn't know what I was going to do next. Like you 20 years old trying to decide your whole life
Mhm.
in an instant. That was an instantaneous decision. You got to leave and you got to figure it out. You got to get back in school. You got to you don't want to drop out. You got to make sure your family's straight. You got to make sure that you get a job, reestablishing yourself. So I would say from the girl who came here with a suitcase some Steve Madden pumps and some
Steve
Gaucho
Madden.
pants.
Yeah, the Steve Madden pump. Do you still have them? Because those are pretty important to
Yeah,
you.
they gone. They was like a little kitten heel too. They gone. I've upgraded since then. That you can you can make it, right? I use therapy in the church to get me through it. I don't know what you're gonna use, but whatever you use, just let it not be counterproductive to whatever your goal is. So for me, the church has helped me reading about different stories and people of the Bible, because if God doesn't have respect of person, then if he let, Abraham told Abraham to leave and he the father of many nations, I can't imagine what I'm gonna be. So you just my faith helped me get through it.
Yeah.
My family, just being used to, and then just knowing what you can do. Like I depended on my people a lot. I always had a job or whatever, but I depended on my family members a lot. And so to be isolated from that and really moving forward on your own was a lot. So just, I don't know.
All right, before we get off now, and I appreciate you sharing, Siobhan, every part of your story. I thank you because it's heavy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing it for real. If you were in front of me, I'd give you a big hug. And so I may just maybe I'll drive to the house and give you a hug. I don't know. That'll be weird. It'll be awkward, but
it'll be awkward, but I'm here.
You probably wouldn't answer the door, Siobhan. And thank you, Mallory and Giovanni, right, for even your comments. And we know that if you were on here, you would have a story to share as well, of all the emotions that went with that. And I think it's pretty dope. You guys are still friends, even though you're in the same, Texas is big, but in the same state. But Siobhan, before we do get off, I want you to tell the people what you do and how we know we heard you on the Polished News Network. We know that you dropped the business there and you went all in.
Right.
But Siobhan's a liable. She is.
Thank you, Joe. Oh, that's Buff Daddy. Thank you,
Buff Daddy. Yeah.
So listen, y'all. So some of y'all know my story as far as I quit my good government job back in January after receiving a raise. Because again, I mean, I done been through some things. I know God got my back. So I am serving the community now by being a real estate agent. My brokerage is Keller Williams. So you can find me at newwayhomefw.com. That's my website. You can email me at SiobhanCormick@kw.com. I also have a concierge utility service now. I'm an independent business owner with that. So if you need AT&T, Vivint, all that good stuff, Zoom electricity, I got you on that.
What's your email? Siobhan Cormick at what?
SiobhanCormick@kw.com. But my first love was, and kind of still is, social work. So you will find me at my church doing things for the community, New Horizon Fellowship Church. Also, I want to plug that Women Empower Empowering. I'm a founding board member of that organization. Give 8/28 is coming. August 28th is very significant in African American history. It's the day that Katrina hit. It's the day I think that Emmett Till was killed. I think it's the day that Obama announced that he was going to be running for president. So 8/28 in African American history has been a lot. And so that is the dopest, blackest giving day of the year. So we want you to give to white Women Empowering. That link will be somewhere on one of my profiles. So yeah, I do a lot of different things. And so you don't have to just be one thing. That's what I learned about life. I am dope enough to be multiple things and still be present for my family and still be present for myself.
That's good. Dope enough to do multiple things. Wait, what's the web page for Women Empower? I know the Facebook. What's the the Facebook page? Well, basically it's Women Empower Empowering.
Yeah, the Facebook is Women Empowering. And I believe our website is Empowering DFW, but I always forget it.
It's okay. I'm
a poor vice president, am I? EmpoweringWomenDFW.org. Our PayPal link is up 24/7. We help women in Tarrant County with, we empower women through our giving fund. So we help them, whether it's a bill or them trying to go back to school, whatever it is, because women are traditionally make less money than their male counterparts.
That's right.
Yeah. So for our organization, the only requirement to join is that you be an African American female. That's
okay. I know. I'm gonna give again on
I feel
828. Huh?
I feel like you fit the description. All you got to do is be African American female.
But I give to women empowering. Yeah, I do give. But here's another question. This is pretty serious as all the other topics. Let's see what that's about. Come on, Siobhan, hit us with something on the way out.
Yeah.
Maybe Mallory and Giovanni can hype you up so we can get a song.
That dang on Alicia.
That is a t-shirt. Dope enough to do multiple things. That is a t-shirt.
Oh, I got a t-shirt lady. I got that too. What you need, I got you. You want me to sing, huh?
Just hit us with something on the way out of here, Siobhan.
All right, I'm gonna do this one time only. So, because I promised Alicia and I forgot to do it. So let me think if I remember the words to the song. There are some things I may not know. There are some places I may not go. But there's one thing I know, that God is real, for I can feel him in my soul. Yes, God is real. He's real in my soul. Yes, God is real, for he has washed and made me whole. His love for me is just like pure gold. Yes, God is real, for I can feel him in my soul. That's all I got.
That was good. We know you can sing.
Something like that.
That was good, Siobhan.
Okay. You happy now, Alicia? I'm done with y'all.
That was good. Even Mallory said it was good. Everybody knows it was good. You can sing for real. You was in a band too, weren't you?
Oh, you talking about? I thought you meant in school. I was a part of a reggae band. I've done a lot of different things, like I said, because at this point, what do I have to fear? So I just do stuff and I throw it at the wall. If it sticks, I'm good with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we know how to find. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We know how to find Siobhan. One, remember 828. 828. Women empowering is Giving Day, so make sure you give to Women Empower. And there's no amount too small, right?
There's no amount too small. We take the kind that folds and jingles.
Okay, so make sure you go over to that and give. Also, remember, if you are buying or selling, interest rates are really low, right, Siobhan?
Right.
If you want to buy a house, if you don't know the first steps to buying a house, if you're like, man, I really want to get a house, this is the person you should reach out to her. Siobhan gonna walk you through. If you want to sell your house, because now houses are going
in several different cash offer programs. If you want to sell your house and you think, I don't want to do showings, I don't want to do that, I got a bunch of cash offer programs that can help you. Even a cash offer program that helps you buy your dream home before you sell the house you're in. I got you.
Boom. so Siobhan does have you, so make sure you reach out to her. And also, Siobhan's taking new clients. If anybody out there is like, I want a therapist, Siobhan seems really cool. Call LCS Counseling and Consulting Agency, 682-990-2866.
You should definitely call LCS Counseling, but I will not be taking new patients.
Make sure. All right. And Siobhan's earrings are dope. So Siobhan, thank you so much for being on here. We appreciate you. Alicia, I'm glad you put that in there for her to sing, because she can sing effortlessly, if you will. And make sure, and Siobhan, I don't know if you already signed up, maybe you get in a booth or something, but Polish News Network is having the Business Expo. Alicia, tell us what date real quick. It's September 18th. September 18th. Okay.
September 18th. Now I'm going to drop this exclusive. I'm going to do a customer appreciation event September 25th. So that next weekend is free 99. I will have the save the dates out here soon, but it's free customer appreciation. Anybody who supported my business, it is definitely sometimes an isolating and lonely space to be an entrepreneur. And just to appreciate everybody that has supported me over the last 8 months. That was on my heart. So I just dropped, that's exclusive. World Star, all of that.
All right. Polish News Network, Business Expo, September the 18th. Siobhan's giving out free stuff. That's what I heard. Siobhan giving out free stuff on the following weekend. But make sure, if you are a business owner, if you want to learn more about business, make sure you sign up for the Business Expo. That's where we saw Siobhan first for the interview. All right. So thank everybody so much for joining us. Next week, we always have a guest. We have somebody coming on and sharing their personal story again. And one day Siobhan's going to come on back. All right. So bless you all. Thank you so much. Siobhan, stay on here for a second, please.
All right.
And everybody have a great night.